Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel and welcome back to another live stream. Today, though, no tactical preview. We now have a short break from Manchester United. I say a short break, it's the best part of 10 days because last season we were absolutely terrible all year and this year we didn't do very well at all in the Cups. So Manchester United now have a break, so we don't have a tactical preview today. However, what we do have is an opportunity to look towards the future and try and do some long-term planning. Because the other night against Newcastle, the bubble just burst a little bit, didn't it? We all knew that it was going to come eventually. We know that United have been fantastic in terms of the results under Carrick. There was always going to be a blip. There was always going to be a loss at some point. And we suffered it the other night. And immediately the top four suddenly looks much more difficult. I'm still very confident, but it's going to be extremely competitive between now and the end of the season. However, we need to make sure that we are in the top five. Because I think what we've seen all season long, really, but particularly under Michael Carrick, is that this squad still needs work. It doesn't matter who the manager is going to be, how good they may be tactically, or their man management skills. Put quite simply, we need to address the squad. There has been some squad building problems for quite a long time now. I don't know the last time that Manchester United had a well-balanced squad. But a big thing that we've got wrong in the past 18 months is the left side of the pitch. We have pretty much removed everything from the left. Marcus Rashford and Garnacho are both gone or going, which, you know, I understand why we made those moves, but it does leave us extremely light. We signed Cunha in the summer, who is a great player, and I think he's been really good recently, but he's not a left winger, is he? He's someone that wants to come inside. And then at left back, we've got the situation where we don't really have someone who is fit and natural here. So Luke Shaw is a natural left back and he's a very good one, but he's past his best. He just simply is. Physically, he cannot do the role that we want anymore. I think he's still fine if you want him tucking into the back three or something like that. But if you want a left back to bomb forward, which we need because Cunha's playing inside, Shaw isn't the man to do it. And then we've got Patrick Dorgu, who I think started really well under Michael Carrick and has had a pretty decent season. But I don't know if he's actually naturally a left winger or a left back. Wing back very much was his position. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to see whether he can be a winger or a fullback as of yet. But I think everyone would agree, no matter what, we need something here, don't we? We need to change something. Cunha Future is in trouble, by the way. He doesn't fit this system. He's not a winger or a striker. And Bruno ain't ever getting rotated. Yeah, I mean, squad depth is very important. We have to acknowledge that. But yeah, I do think we are going to be in a position next year where certain players who are very good at football aren't going to be making the 11. Now, hopefully we'll be in the Champions League, so it won't be a problem. But yeah, that squad depth is something that we're going to have to consider. Anyway, what our plan for today is to not necessarily look at specific names. We're not going to look at this player that we need to bring into the club or that player that we need to bring into the club. What we're going to look at today is identifying the profile that we need, and then once we've done that, I will come back to you guys with a video or a stream on some potential options and what they would bring for us. But before we can figure out who it should be, we need to figure out what it should be. What type of left-sided player do we need for the Manchester United attack? Now, to do that, we have to consider our starting 11. We absolutely have to consider the balance of our starting 11, the balance of our front three, also the balance of our left side, of course. But we also have to consider what we've currently got in the squad. Because when you're trying to build a team, you're not just building a perfect 11. You're trying to build a squad of perhaps 25 players that can all work together and can all complement each other. So what we're going to do today is something a little bit different. Now, we have done these before, but it was quite a while ago. So if you are new to the channel, this might be a bit of a new, fresh idea. But what I want to do today is assess the Manchester United forward options, the attackers. Now, I haven't got Bruno or Mount in this just because I consider them just about as midfielders, but all of these guys are players that right now are feasible options for the Manchester United attack. So we're going to rate them out of 5, or maybe out of 10, up to you guys, on speed, dribbling, ball retention, ball carrying, off-ball running, creativity, and goal scoring. And then basically what we're going to see is what are we low on? If we do all of these ratings and we notice that our speed is really low or our ball retention is really low, then we know that that is something that we need from our left winger in the summer. Then what we're going to do is go down the left flank, look at Shaw, Dorgu and Cunha, all who currently play down the left, and figure out what that left side needs for balance. And hopefully from that point, we can then figure out the profile that we need. We can identify, we need this. We need a player that can do X, Y, and Z. Once we know that, that is when we can then sort of start looking at players who might fulfill those needs. So that is the plan for today. Before we dive into that, I do just quickly want to hear from you guys in the chat. First of all, how are you? How's life? How are you feeling after the United game the other night against Newcastle? It was a poor one. How are you feeling about this break that we've got coming up? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? And then, before we get into all of this stuff, what's your immediate instinct on sort of what you think we're going to need on a left wing? Do you think we need an absolute speedster? Or do you think we need someone who's a bit more about ball retention? Or do we need a goal scorer or a creator? And then in terms of down the left flank, do we need, again, more speed? Or do we need more width? Or do we need more creativity? Let me know your immediate response to seeing what I'm discussing today. Tonali, João Gomez, Truffert, Diamande / Somerville. I mean, it's a nice foundation for a summer, that looks to me, but I don't think it quite moves the needle enough, apart from Tonali, probably. I slept in and almost missed the stream. Disgraceful behaviour from you, Steve. But that means the first thing you did when you woke up was come here, and I love that. We need a defensive winger who can cross the ball. So are you thinking more of the Dorgu style, but perhaps with a bit more output in the final third? Bruno isn't leaving. He is likely to get a new contract. Yeah, I don't think Bruno Fernandes will leave this summer. I think if we get top 5, if we're in the Champions League next season, I think Bruno will stay one more year before reassessing, which is huge. We saw the other night, when the going gets tough and we don't have the balance that we want as a squad, Bruno Fernandes is there trying to bail us out. Now, I know he made a mistake for the penalty. That happens sometimes. But generally speaking, with the performance, Bruno Fernandes was the one driving us in the second half. And he was our only hope of points in that game. I want width, pace, agility, and crossing. I like it. Personally, I need creativity, IQ, dribbling, and ball retention. See, that's a little bit different. Kvaratskhelia would be my preferred option if it were possible. What a player Kvaratskhelia is. What a player. Anyway, how do we want to do this? We can go player by player. So we can go Sesko, do his speed, dribbling, ball retention, blah, 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 blah. Or we can go everyone's speed, everyone's dribbling, everyone's ball retention. Which way would you prefer to do this? The aim is to figure out where the squad is weak, is essentially what we're trying to do here. I reckon a productive player to fight for the spot is what we need. Cunha impacts the game, but we almost need an Mbumo-esque level of productivity. Enter Iliman Ndiaye. Really good player. Did a video on him on the second channel the other day. Ndiaye is fantastic. Yan Diamande, that is all I'm going to say today. Kevin, how do you see him? What sort of profile do you think he is? Which of these boxes is he ticking? I'd like to hear what you think. Because what we'll probably do another day is come back with another list like this with options. So this might say Barcola, it might say Ndiaye, Diamande, and we might do it like that. It's interesting the ideas that we're seeing in chat straight away. I need creativity, IQ, dribbling, and ball retention compared to, say, pace, agility, and crossing. They're a little bit different, which is quite fun. What's your second channel? AJ Talks Tactics. If you go on the community page of this channel, there'll be a link to a video somewhere there. Could we just shift Ahmad over to the left wing? I think for this season, it's an option. I think it's something that we could explore, but not long term. Long term, I don't think we want to move someone away from their best position. In an ideal world, we keep them where they belong, where their instincts take them. So, yeah, maybe till the end of the season to solve a problem, I think we can. I don't think next season that's really a viable solution. Maybe in the occasional game, but not overall. Okay, anyway, so we're going to go this way first. So speed. What I want from you guys in the chat is for you to rate each of these players, Sesko, Cunha, Mbumo, Ahmad, Dorgu, and Xerxes, on their speed on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being like they are rapid, absolutely rapid, and 1 being they can barely move, or 0, I guess, being that they can barely move. So get your rating in the chat for Sesko, Cunha, Mbumo, Ahmad, Dorgu, Xerxes. You can do all 6 at once, and we'll go from there. Isn't Dorgu back after the break? I don't know. I don't think we've had a date yet on when Dorgu is going to return. I personally haven't seen any positive updates, but I might have missed them. AJ, Ahmad cannot be dropped because he's the only profile who provides balance, being a 1 versus 1 winger. It's a really tricky one because I agree. Just a few weeks ago, I said I think he's almost undroppable, one of the first names on the team sheet. And then the other day, I asked for him to be dropped. The problem is, I think his profile is essential to what we need. I don't think his performance levels have been. I think he's been a little bit underwhelming recently, Ahmad. So when he's good at dribbling, he's exactly what we need. Recently, I don't think he's been as good at that. And then he sort of suffers or struggles to offer anything else, if you see what I'm saying. So yeah, let's say a 10 would be like, I don't know, Mbappe or Kyle Walker or someone like that. So Sesko's going to be up there. And Sesko's going to be high. And basically what we want to try and find here is as many as 7s and 8s and maybe the occasional 9 as possible for these players, and then for the overall squad total. Now, the number that springs to my head with Sesko is 8. That's sort of the number which jumps straight at me. Why this question on speed? I want to know the pace of these players. Because if we find that the Manchester United attack is incredibly slow, then we need some players with speed. Simple as that, really. All right, let's have a look. I'm seeing Sesko 8 or 9. What? I could be tempted to go Sesko 9. Cunha 5 or 6 feels about right. I don't mind that at all. Mbumo. I think Mbumo's top speed this season is quicker than Sesko's. What I will say is none of them seem to be amazingly quick over the first 4 yards, like the acceleration. I think when they get to top speed, Sesko and Mbumo are really, really fast, but they seem to struggle to get there. That first 10 foot, they don't seem that quick. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but a foot race, the first couple of yards, we tend to struggle. But if it's over a long distance, then I back our players to get there. That's sort of how I'm seeing it at the moment. And Mbumo and 8 a little bit. So what, we're thinking maybe Sesko 9 and Mbumo 8? Is that what you guys are wondering? And by the way, you guys are going to largely lead the direction of these conversations. I want to hear your ratings because I spend a lot of time giving my opinions. I mean, yeah, Xerxes, I'm happy to have like a 4 or a 5 because I don't know if he can run fast because I don't think I've ever seen him try to run fast. He's just a slow fella, isn't he? And I think Dorgu's pretty quick. What are we thinking if I go like that? How do we feel about that? 9, 6, 8, 7, 7. 5. How do we feel about that? Sesko's got good speed off the ball, but with the ball can lack that full speed. So Sesko 8. Yeah, I understand that. In terms of dribbling, you mean? Yeah, that's a fair comment. David, good morning to you, my friend, in the chat with a gifted membership as always. Guys, you know what to do. Get some love in the chat for David. Whether that's a nice comment for him because he's a legend or some love hearts to show our appreciation. David, thank you very much as always. Most of our players have incredible top speed but not acceleration. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair comment. I mean, Xerxes is someone who is just slow, isn't he? But I don't necessarily look at the Manchester United attack and think we're really lacking in speed. You know, it depends who plays maybe, but Sesko and Mbumo, I think when they play, I feel that we've got good speed in the team. I feel like we've got that ability to cover that. If Mbappe is a 10, Sesko 9 doesn't sound right. Yeah, I wonder if Sesko can come down to 8. Again, especially over those first few yards. I feel Dorgu's faster than Ahmad. Possibly, you know. See, this is when we get into that conversation of, like, do we need a 0.5? We're not going to go into 0.5s today because, like, just at what point do you stop? So we're not going to do that today. All right, so if you have your say there, what I'm going to do, actually, is we're going to go on to dribbling. So I want to see you guys doing the same thing now in the chat, but for dribbling. So, again, rate them. And what I'm going to do in the meantime is set up a poll for who's quicker between Ahmad and Dorgu. Just punched my mic while I was trying to move. So I want you guys to start rating their dribbling. And I'm going to do a poll on the speed of Ahmad and Dorgu. Because I think that's an interesting question. Ahmad 6, Xerxes 4. Yeah, possibly. Now, when it comes to dribbling, I just want to identify, like, make something clear here. We've got dribbling and we've got ball carrying. So Cunha, for example, is an amazing ball carrier, but he's not a great dribbler. So I just want to make it clear that we've got that difference there. Dribbling is a bit more about the tight space work, perhaps 1 versus 1, dribbling at a player, going past them, or maybe sort of widening your way through a gap. Whereas ball carrying over here, when we get to it, will be more about driving over large spaces, picking the ball up and driving through. So this is where Cunha will do a little bit better, and this is where Ahmad will do a little bit better. What I want to hear is what you think of the other guys around them. That's what I'm interested in right now. Acceleration over the short distance or in burst, I think Mbeumo, Sesko and Ahmad are similar. Yeah, I don't feel that I could have Ahmad miles off of Mbeumo and Sesko. I don't think I can have the miles off. So we've got our first dribbling ratings coming in the chat now. So we've got Sesko 6, Cunha 6, Mbeumo 3, Ahmad 7, Dorgu 5, Xerxes 9. And then we've got Sesko 7, Cunha 6, Mbeumo 7, Ahmad 9, Dorgu 6, Xerxes 8. Context is needed, I think. Yeah, like I said, I do think the acceleration is different to your top speed. But just for the sake of speeding up the conversation today, just overall, roughly, how quick do you think they are, basically, is how we'll run it. So the chat does seem to think that Dorgu is slightly quicker. I just don't know if we've got enough difference in the ratings to do it. But we'll keep it in mind. We'll keep it in mind. Anyway, let's get on to this dribbling. Now, you know, again, if we're really talking about proper dribbling, Neymar would be your 10. Neymar and Messi are your 10s of the dribbling world. We don't get close to that. We don't scrape the surface of the potential of dribbling. I think our highest is Ahmad. I would say that Ahmad is our best dribbler. I would struggle to put him above a 7, to be honest. Ball carrying, I think it goes to Cunha. Dribbling, I think Ahmad, 1 versus 1, is our best dribbler. But yeah, I'm struggling to put him higher than 7, to be honest. I'm struggling to do that. Again, if we're thinking Messi, Neymar is the standard of a 10, we don't get close to that. Who would be in that 9 bracket? Your Dokus, maybe. Your Dokus and your Njais, perhaps, in the Premier League? Are we falling around a 7? I'm thinking in terms of consistency as well. In terms of potential, Ahmad's got a lot of potential to be a very good dribbler. I think he's got the potential to be one of the best in the league, to be honest. But I don't know if he is right now. Xerxes is very decent. Yeah, Xerxes' tight space footwork and things like that, I think, is quite nice. I would rate him pretty decently here. The others, no. Let's be real. Yeah, Yamal is another one who would be right up there. Yeah, absolutely. He'd probably be on a 10. Vinicius Jr., those are the players we've got to think about here. Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele. There's some very good footballers in this world. And our wingers and our forwards, in terms of dribbling, don't touch them. We don't get close. Ahmad 7.5. Yeah, if we were to go to 0.5s, Ahmad is maybe one that goes there. I just don't think we can quite go as high as an 8. I don't think we can round up. So, I mean, Sesko's a weird one, right? Because you have got to think about the context again of what they are as a player. For a 6'5" player, Sesko's footwork is really good. Really good for a 6'5" player. His footwork the other night was quite nice. But actually, if you isolated Sesko on a wing, 1 versus 1 against a fullback, and asked him to dribble him, he probably couldn't do it very often. So I almost want to be generous and give him like a 6 here, but I think we're often too kind to our players with these ratings. So I would actually have that come in much lower. I'm honestly thinking like 5 or 6. If we're putting an Ahmad at 7, again, right? Imagine you wanted to put this player 1 versus 1 against Wan-Bissaka. Who's got the best chance? It's Ahmad, probably, and then the other guys fall quite short. Now Xerxes, yeah, obviously plays in a different part of the pitch. I get it. So his footwork is quite nice. I would be tempted to go 6 there. Yeah, I think it is a 4 or a 5 for Sesko. I really do. I think, is it maybe... I mean, Dorgu, again, dribbling. We haven't seen a lot of it. He tends to carry the ball when it comes to dribbling. You know, again, think Dorgu under Ruben Amorim, where he was very much this isolation player, wide on the left-hand side as a wing-back. He held the width, had to beat a man in the final third and cross. He didn't do it very well, did he? I haven't seen a class game-affecting dribble from Sesko. Yeah. But David's point is important here as well. I think because of his height, people discount Sesko's footwork and his ability to cover large space quickly. I agree. It's that for his build, he's good at dribbling. But in terms of is he a great dribbler, I don't think he is. If you see what I'm saying. For his build, it's impressive that he can do that. But is he a top dribbler on this planet? No. And that's absolutely fine because he's going to rate well in other things. But I don't think that's something that he's amazing at. Dorgu 3. Do we think Dorgu is a worse dribbler than Sesko? I mean, Dorgu can't dribble, can he? He's not very good at it at all. Sesko's dribbling's underrated, but not more than 5. Again, I'm just thinking, would I want him on the touchline holding the width against a fullback? Probably not. And that's okay because he's a striker. It's okay that this one will be low. That's natural for him. Yeah, we saw more of the dribbling on display at Leipzig, I think. More of the ball carrying on display at Leipzig as well. I don't think we've seen it massively at Old Trafford yet. Not necessarily talking about dribbling, more his footwork and stuff. Yeah, I do agree. His profile is still nice. Dorgu and Sesko about the same for me. And we'd have Mbeumo slightly ahead of them, I think, right? For example, when Mbeumo the other day against Newcastle, he did take the ball out wide on the touchline. He did come inside. He did isolate the fullback. Went towards the byline. Won us a corner. I don't know if I'd back some of the others to do that. And what I want to do is, I feel like normally when we do these ratings, we have this tendency to give benefit of the doubt. We'll go, you know what, we'll be kind. We'll give him this. Today I want to be brutal. If we're thinking 0.5, 7.5, they're getting a 7, not an 8. We're rounding down today. Because I really want to be brutal about this Manchester United squad to really make it crystal clear what we need in the summer. The early suggestion here is the speed doesn't look too bad, but we cannot dribble. And if you think when you watch Manchester United, that makes a lot of sense. Because when there's big spaces and speed comes into play, we look fantastic. When there's tight spaces and you've got to dribble, we look horrendous. So early on, the ratings look about right. So I think we started well. We lack dribblers. Yeah, we really do. So that immediately tells us for that left wing spot, they've really got to be someone that can dribble. We're going to need other things as well as we go through, but they've got to be able to dribble. So that's a good starting point. David, no problem. Great minds think alike, right? Right, let's move to ball retention. And I'm going to close that poll on speed. We might come back to it. I'll see. I'll keep it in mind. Ball retention. Now, what I mean here is basically, does the player look after the ball? For example, if we were talking about central midfielders, we would say Kobbie Mainoo is someone who does retain the ball. Sometimes he's too slow, perhaps, but he does retain the ball. He does tend to look after it. Whereas a Bruno Fernandes or a Casemiro, they might be a better player, but they're going to be a bit more loose with the ball. They might overturn it a bit more because they give it away. If we're talking about forwards in world football, Mo Salah is someone whose ball retention would be very low. He loses the ball a lot, but it's okay because he's normally effective. Someone that keeps the ball more would be a Jack Grealish, for example, who's still a very good player and retains the ball much better for the attack. Again, you need that balance. So Xerxes, for example, for me in terms of his profile, would be one that retains the ball well. Probably Ahmad as well would be someone that I would consider up there. Mbeumo is one who's going to suffer a little bit here and come a little bit lower. Sesko I don't think is too bad at it. Cunha is quite hit and miss, but we can't rate him too well. And Dorgu is an interesting one, actually. Really interesting. Dorgu's certainly not worse than Sesko at dribbling. No, I don't think he is. No, I think it's... You could maybe bump Dorgu to a 5 on the dribbling front, but I don't think he is as good as Mbeumo. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. What is ball retention? Hopefully you're lagging a bit and I've just covered that for you. Hopefully by the time it's come through, you now know. It's just the players that look after the ball. You can tell a difference when you watch a forward, right? You've got those forwards who get the ball and the first thought is just, can I get at goal? We're going to take a chance. Bruno Fernandes picks up the ball and it's, can I create? Can I do something? Kobbie Mainoo picks up the ball and it's, can I look after it? Can I keep it? Arsenal, for example, if you want to look at them, Bukayo Saka is fantastic at ball retention, but is he as good as pure creativity? That's something that you would question. Cunha hold to the ball up well, giving a chance to get out at times. Sorry, I completely misread that. Yeah, Cunha is a really inconsistent one, isn't he? Because I think in our half, if you want to go long to a player, okay, he struggled against Trippier, but normally he is a nice out ball. He is someone that can look after it. But then in other games, as we get to the final third, which is probably where we want to talk about these guys a bit more because they are forwards, I think he comes down a little bit. Let me go over here. Let me go to a tactics board and try and explain what I'm talking about. Right, so let's say, don't have to highlight this. Let's say the play, really struggling right now. Let's say the play is a lot higher over here, okay? So we've got The opposition are in their box. You've got some wingers who are the ones that you trust to break a game. Ignore personnel for a second. You've got some forwards who will pick up the ball in this situation, and you know that every time they pick it up, they're going to drive straight at people. Now, sometimes that means they're going to lose it. They'll lose the ball sometimes. They might try and cross a lot, which isn't looking after the ball, is it? I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do, but it's not looking after the ball. Or they might take a touch and shoot every time. That's not really looking after the ball. Another time what you'll get is a different type of player will pick the ball up. Let's keep it over here. And this guy won't be quite as direct. He'll be a bit slower on the ball. He'll take lots of slow touches. He might, say, dribble down the right-hand side. I've just noticed the ball rolls when you do that. That's quite cool. Sorry. You move the ball down the right-hand side. But rather than being direct with his next action, he might be one of these guys that turns around and passes backwards to keep the ball. That's sort of the two different types of players that we're talking about here. Of course, things like first touch come into it, the ability to play under pressure, physical contact, got to think of that as well. It feels like as a team, as a whole, we struggle with ball retention, I completely agree. Other than Kobe Mainu, Lisandro Martinez and Heaven, we either play Hollywood balls or hold on to it and take too long. Yeah, again, we probably shouldn't rate particularly or rank particularly well here, because we've spent so long saying Manchester United are horrible at looking after the ball. In those games where we've got to keep it, you think, was it Everton in the first half, where Shaw passed to them countless times in the first half. Dalot was just knocking it off the pitch for fun. Casemiro was canning it in behind and it was just never on. We know that Bruno Fernandes is always going to take a risk. Cunha's going to take a risk and Mbumo's going to take a risk. So again, we shouldn't rate amazingly well here. But again, that's okay because we're trying to identify a flaw in the squad. And if we can find one, that gives us a great chance to address it in the future. All right, let's have a look at some ratings that we've got going on here. Xerxes would probably be on the high end for me here for Manchester United players. Certainly in terms of what his profile can offer. I think there's an inconsistency in it. But I think if you want the ball to stick, I think Xerxes someone's feet that you give it into. He's not going to turn and shoot at goal every time. He will take that touch and lay it off to someone else, for example. Bruno 5. I think Bruno's got much better at it. I don't think he's a 5 anymore. But once upon a time, I think we did give him that. Trying to think of these other guys. I mean, Mbumo is one that I would have quite low. We've seen him several times receiving in the half space recently, and his first touch has been quite poor. Sort of pressure back to goal. He's getting tackled quite a lot. Out wide, and again, this isn't a criticism because he's going to be good at other parts of the game. But out wide, yeah, again, he's a player who sort of likes to take that touch and get the cross into the box, which we need, but it doesn't make his ball retention amazing. So Sesko 7, probably a little bit high if we're going Xerxes 8. But I do think Sesko's ball retention, again, is pretty decent. I think it's pretty good. Cunha, I'm sort of inclined to go a similar rating here. But he can be really loose, though. Given Sesko's speed and ability in the air, we could do with somebody capable of playing crosses from deeper, Beckham-esque. Yeah, we definitely need that. Whether that's from the wing or from fullbacks or from midfielders, we need it in the squad. I'm thinking something like, I don't know if that feels a bit low, maybe. Cunha 2? I just don't think he's a 2. I don't think he's a 2. I don't think he gives the ball away every time he gets it. Look at his performances against Arsenal, etc., against Liverpool. You think 80th minute when we're 1-0 up, if you want someone to look after the ball, Cunha is the man that you go to. Now, I won't go too high because over 90 minutes he gives it away more. I think 6. I think 6 is fair. Dorgu's a weird one. Is Dorgu a player that sort of retains the ball? He draws a lot of fouls. Yeah, I'd probably have Dorgu half decent as well. What are our thoughts on that? Is that okay? Hi AJ, what have you discussed until now and what conclusions have you come to? Could you recap? What we are doing essentially is going through the Manchester United forwards and trying to figure out what they're good at, what they're bad at. So we're rating them all on a scale of 1 to 10 and these different attributes to figure out what we're lacking in the Manchester United squad and what we have a lot of in the Manchester United squad. With the idea being, whatever we're lacking in, that's what we need to sign in the summer. So that's basically the plan here. Cunha's ball retention in defence is brilliant, less so when attacking. Yeah, I quite like that. Not enough data for Dorgu. Yeah, Dorgu could go down to a 5, but I sort of see the way that he wins free kicks as being retention. In the final third, he doesn't go at his man. He tends to come backwards and pass back. So I sort of see that as ball retention. So I don't mind it. Right, let's go to ball carrying. Now, this is where we are going to fly up that scale, right? Cunha is fantastic with his ball carrying. He is someone who is going to go higher. He's definitely going to go higher. Cunha is frustrating and reminds me of Bruno with his retention. Clearly has the ability to retain it, but tries too hard when emotional and can make bad decisions. Yeah, I completely agree. And again, on Bruno, I would have said that more 18 months ago. I think he's developed massively, Bruno. I think he's so much more complete now. I think he does read that moment to look after it much better than what he used to. But, yeah, Cunha is someone that still needs to work with that. And it probably comes from playing for a smaller club where he was the main character. He was the maverick. He was the one that they gave it to do something. When you then move to a bigger club where you've got more of those players, it's tough. Definition of ball carrying. Yes, sure. Let's head over to the tactics board to discuss that. Ball carrying is when we're talking about bigger open spaces. So rather than tight 1-versus-1 against the fullback, let's say this gap opens up in here. Bit of space opens up and you've got a player here and they're not dribbling through that space. They're driving at the heart of the defence. Let's just move him out of the way. When that space opens up and you can just drive at the heart of defence. Or on a counter-attack where you have a big space to run into, you pick the ball up and you just drive into it. That's what we're talking about with ball carrying. So there's a few things to consider here. Power is something that comes into play. Speed is something that comes into play. Strength is big here because a lot of the time when you're carrying, you're going to be shoulder to shoulder with someone. But also sprinting endurance, the ability to carry over a large distance. Sprinting 30 yards with the ball is not easy to do. So I think all of those things come into it. Sesko, we haven't seen anything at United, but he was okay at Leipzig. Yeah, I think his ball carrying's got some potential. Like I said, I don't think we've really seen it yet. Ball carrying has gotten better, but it still ain't great. Only world-class ball carrier we had was Pogba. Yeah, I think Cunha's the one who's really good at it. I think Cunha's the best we've got. The others are going to fall below that for me. Ahmad, I think Ahmad's improved here, actually. I think he struggled with the sprinting over distance at one point. I think he's got better there. Xerxes is going to be quite low because he lacks that bite and that drive and that speed to really carry over distance. So Xerxes is going to be quite poor here. Sesko I'll put a little bit higher, but I don't want to go too high on that. Could Sesko squeeze to a 7? I think there's a world where Sesko could go higher. I just don't think he's done it yet at United. I think this could, in a couple of years' time, go to an 8. But I don't think we've seen it yet. So I'm going to go on the lower end, again, for the sake of being harsh today. Mbumo, Ahmad, Dorgu. What do we reckon? Get your ratings in the chat and we'll go from there. Chad, good morning to you, my friend. How are we? Is it sunny where you are today, Chad? I know you're a man that likes the sun. And pretty nice day here. It's freezing, to be honest, but sunny at least. Sunny at least. I do not believe your alter ego has been up to any dodgy business today. Dorgu's ball carrying is actually not bad. Yeah, I think it's decent. I'd maybe have him at 7. Does it feel a bit... Could you go... Could that be something that Cunha's seriously world class at, is ball carrying? Is that something you could go for? How do we feel about that? Feel free to tell me I'm an idiot and I'm wrong. Maybe put it a bit nicer than that, but... Or yeah, could they be 6s? A lot of them, pretty much outside of Cunha. Mbumo is low. Ahmad can do it. Dorgu not yet, but potentially. Had an amazing week of sun. It's just cloudy today. Sad times. Now I'm thinking about it. I've just said it's sunny. I've got a feeling it's not today. I think it was yesterday it was sunny, and I've lost my head, and today's cloudy. I don't know. I can't see outside right now. We're being too nice. Yeah, go on and put some brutal ratings in the chat, mate. Go on, hit them. Yeah, Steve, Chad's a pretty good alarm, to be honest. Pretty good alarm. Just get your Discord notifications on. Let Chad fire away. Steve Brooks with the 5 gifted memberships again, may I add. Again, that's like 3, maybe 4 streams in a row. Steve has dropped in and dropped 5 gifted memberships on your head tops and on my head top. So, Steve, thank you very much again for the generosity. United have got like, what, 1 game in the next 6 years. So I don't know how I'm going to live financially. So right now, gifted memberships and things like that really, really do help. I appreciate them all the time, but particularly when it's like this. You guys would have seen 8K views on the Newcastle video. But yes, thank you very much, Steve, as always, for the kindness and the generosity. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, get some love hearts in the chat for that, man. Fan, the gifted memberships never seem to go to you, mate. Never seem to go to you. Do we want Dorgu down a little bit on the ball carrying? Is Mbumo a good ball carrier? I don't know. He's not, is he? I've never seen Mbumo carry a ball, like thinking about it. Have you ever seen Mbumo carry a ball? Like, he's always the runner. He's always the runner. Is he ever the one carrying the ball himself? It's always someone else carrying to find him. So we'll do that. Anyway, off ball running. Mbumo goes up here. Mbumo goes up for the off ball running. Mbumo goes up. Sesko. Not quite Mbumo level. He's not quite yet there on it, but he's pretty good as well. How about these other guys? Xerxes. Not so much. With off-ball running, I'm thinking Bruno Fernandes has picked the ball up in the middle of the park. He's picked it up right in midfield. He's got his head up, had a look. He's looking for runners. Who's that guy making that run? So Marcus Rashford the other year would have been someone who was massively up here. Who would you want? Who's going to be doing it as well? Sesko is, and Mbumo is to a very good level. Xerxes not, is he? Xerxes not. He's going to come to feet, and that's okay. He's just not that type of striker. He's going to come much deeper. Maybe I'll do that. He's going to come much deeper. Xerxes not going to go in behind. He's not going to offer that threat off the ball. And like I said, that's okay. That's okay. Cunha's another one who's not really going to do it. Cunha's not going to make that run. He did it a bit more for Wolves, but for United, he comes to feet all the time. Very much comes towards feet. He wants the ball to play there. Dorgu, I think, is a good runner. I think Dorgu's a good runner off the ball. Very good. Holding the width on the left. I like him there. I like him there. I could maybe go 8 on Dorgu. Maybe I'll just go 7 for the timing. Maybe I'll just go 7 for timing. Ahmad? Thoughts on that? Thoughts on that? Xerxes is low as long as running is involved. He's a 4. But in terms of positioning, he can be clever and move into spaces. Yeah, I may have got the wording wrong on this one. But, yeah, I'm basically thinking, are they a runner? Is what I'm talking about here when I'm trying to assess the profile. Also, by the way, guys, we need to take a moment to ask Steve, not Steve Brooks, the other Steve, not to ask him, to thank him. Because Steve put all this together. Everything that you're seeing on screen right now, providing I've got the right thing on screen, I have, was made by Steve. He sorted us out with this, so make sure to say thank you to the absolute legend that is Steve. He's a goat. He's a goat. Before his injury, his goals were on the run for Dorgu. Yeah, I think he's good at it. I think he's good at it. Creativity. Sorry, I think you underestimate Xerxes. He's not quick, but has the technical ability to control the ball and make yards. Remember how he abused Saliba with that close control? Yeah, that's why I've got him so high on ball retention, and also I've got him pretty decent on dribbling as well. But in terms of a run off the ball into a channel, I don't think he's the man to do it. And I said, that's okay. That's okay. For runners, Dorgu's got to be higher. He could go maybe to an 8. He could go to an 8. Yeah, so if creativity, if we're talking Bruno Fernandes, he'd be on a 10, wouldn't he? The players we've actually got, we struggle a little bit. You know, Sesko's not a creative player. Not at all. He's just not. Cunha's not really that creative, to be honest. He has moments where he'll beat a man and put the ball into the box. Against Manchester City, we saw that cross. He's done it a couple of times this season. Not loads. Mbumo is creative with his crossing. Crosses into the box. I think his delivery is very good. I don't think we've seen it enough at United. I'd like to see more of it. But I think he's good at it. Ahmad, creativity, a lot of potential, but I don't know if he's there yet. I can't think of many times this season Ahmad has broken down a block, for example. That's something to think about here. Imagine we are against a team with lots of men behind the ball. Who are you turning to unlock them? To find a pass out of nothing? Who are you looking for? That player that can slide a ball through between two defenders, or can put a perfect cross into the box, or find a flick around a corner. It's not many of these guys. It's really not many of these guys at all. We're going low here. We're going low. Mbumo is maybe the one that I would hold high purely for that ability to cross. I think that is very useful to us. But outside of that, I think he lacks. Maybe we could have done this in two separate categories. You know, I'm thinking... I don't want to go too low here, but... You know, it feels really harsh, but if they're not good at it, they're not good at it. We can't just be kind for the sake of it. Yeah, Ahmad's got potential, but he's not there yet, is he? Have you noticed what we're doing with Ahmad here? Ahmad's just ended up, because I'd be tempted by a... He's not quite a 7, is he? Is he maybe a 6? What do we think? I might bump Sesko 1, just because he does have those flicks around the corner in the final third, which are quite good. Dorgu, I don't think is creative. I don't think he's got a creative bone in his body, to be honest. I've been really impressed this year. But do you want Dorgu to cross? No. Like, can he cross high? No. Low? No. Far? No. Near? No. He's not very good at crossing. Does he unlock a defence with a ball between two defenders? I can't say I've ever seen him do it. So he's low. Xerxes would get bumped a little bit higher for that sort of combination play around the box. He does have that ability to flick and trick. I think he's one of our better ones. If we think about creativity in terms of flair, Xerxes goes high. He does go high. Yeah, and Mbumo I'm stuck on. I've got him high purely for crossing, but all-round play, I think he comes down a little bit. So I'm stuck on him, and let's go 0 for now, and you guys can discuss. Mbumo Ahmad, what do we reckon? Dorgu is 3. Under Amarim, his final ball stinks. Yeah, he's just not very good at it, is he? I'm seeing in the chat, Sesko 5, Cunha 7. Yeah, I have maybe got Cunha too low. I didn't realise I had him as low as that. Mbumo 6, Ahmad 7, Dorgu 5, Xerxes 8. Yeah, I don't know why I've got Cunha as low as 5. I don't know if I just mistyped or misspoke, but maybe 6. I still wouldn't have him that much higher than that though, because again, when we're playing a team that's deep, Cunha can break a game. He can, because his long shooting is fantastic and things like that. He can do something out of nothing. But do you trust him to work half a yard and put a great ball into the box? No. Again, is he that man to unlock a defence with a pass? I don't think he is. It's always Bruno. It's always Bruno. Sort of post-Newcastle is the perfect time to talk about it. That second half, we needed to create a chance, and Bruno was the only one that ever looked like doing it. Like he even wanted to do it. No one else did it. No one else created anything apart from Bruno. So, where do we put... Are they all 6s? Are they 6s across the board, these guys? I'm not sure. Mbumo 6, Ahmad 7. Of course, we've got to look further than pure numbers of assists, for example, that sort of raw data. But Ahmad assists, that is never good, is it? It's never that impressive a return. Cunha is unpredictable, and that worries defences. Is that creativity? I think that's what gives him that something which spikes his rating up to a 6. I think actually pure creativity, I'd have him in a 5. But yeah, that unpredictability is what gets him to the 6. To me. The summer was good overall, but we bought 2 second striker players in Mbumo and Cunha. I do see the point you're making. We signed quality players, but it was a weird balance that we created in the summer. Ahmad dribbling opens up more. I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, I think I am. All right, let's go to goal scoring then. Now, on the goal scoring rank, Harry Kane is 10. Harry Kane is the best striker in the world. Harry Kane and Erling Haaland, they're your 10s. Your 9s are that category of striker that would fall just below them. Who would that be? I'm trying to think. who's that next category of striker in the world right now? Any takers? Anyone got any shouts? What I'm trying to say is, Sesko at his age, really good finisher, but I don't think he's that top bracket yet, is he? For example, that chance against Spurs at 2-0 up in the last minute, those are the sort of ones that you expect him to take if he wants to be a high-level finisher. But we do know that he has got the extraordinary in his locker as well. A lot of potential with Sesko. Ekitike, I mean, even Ekitike, I wouldn't have too high because I think his finishing's inconsistent. He can finish very well, but he's sort of got that low finish in his locker. But beyond that, I think he's a bit hit and miss. Sesko 5, but we want him to potentially be a 10. He could definitely be a 10 someday. I don't think he's as low as a 5 right now. I don't think he's as low as a 5. Thiago, yeah, I'd hesitate to put Thiago that high just because of the smaller sample size, because he's not done it for a long time. You know, Haaland and Kane have done it for years. You'd have probably Lewandowski up there as well somewhere. Osimhen maybe is sort of your 9 bracket. Yeah, you do think realistically Sesko's a few below that, don't you? And I think that's absolutely fine. He's so young, that's absolutely fine. But he does fall below it a little bit. He's not an elite goal scorer yet. I think he will be one day. I really do think he will be one day. Are we thinking pure strike rate or ability to score from different situations? Difficult situations. If possible, I'd like to combine the two. Do they finish those easy chances? But also, can they find that goal from a different angle? Again, when you watch Kane, he can score from literally everywhere. But also, there is something to be said for the machine-like nature of Haaland, who doesn't score worldies, but just scores tap-ins every single week. But there's something so magical about how he does it. Why no Mount? I'm purely just considering him as a midfielder today, partly to speed up the process of going through this. 7 for Sesko, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I've seen a couple of people saying it. Where does that put him? Here's a way of wording it, just on our ratings so far. Is Sesko's goal scoring as good as Ahmad's dribbling? Don't hate it, but a lot of potential there. On its day, really good. Lacking a bit of consistency to bump up to that 8. So I don't mind it. I don't mind that. Is he a better or worse finisher than Mbeumo? Or are they the same? I would argue Mbeumo's off-ball running could go to a 10. I think it's absolutely incredible on the shoulder. I don't think there's many better in world football off the ball than him, with that running behind. What are we thinking here? What are we thinking? I mean, like, Xerxes, our other striker, just isn't as high as you would want him to be, is he? Nowhere near. Dorgu's not really a goal scorer. I mean, the finish against Arsenal was fantastic, but he's not really a proven goal scorer. Ahmad's not a proven goal scorer. It's the top 3 are our best finishers. On form, Sesko's technically the best striker in the league right now. Yeah, I think 7's about right, appreciating that he's got a lot of potential to become an 8 and then a 9 and then maybe someday a 10. Mbeumo's been very inconsistent this year with his finishing, but Brentford and Mbeumo is an 8. That's fair. Mbeumo's got a bit more range in his finishing than Sesko from what we've seen at United so far. We know that Mbeumo, if we're making a Premier League comparison, Sesko's scored in the box, whereas Mbeumo we know can add those goals from outside the box, where he's cutting in from the right, bending it with the left. We know that he's got that finish in his locker. We haven't seen it from Sesko in the Premier League yet. Cunha is a very good finisher. Cunha is a good finisher as well. Is this 7s across the board, or is it... Obviously, it's weird. Someone like Sesko is going to score more goals because he's a striker. He's going to score more than Cunha because he's playing in the box. Cunha is good goal output over the course of a season. He is. As is Mbeumo. Is this 7 then 8? Thoughts? Thoughts? And then honestly, with Xerxes, I almost want to go as low as a 5 just because he never pulls the trigger. I actually really like Xerxes. I think he's such a great player. But he just never pulls the trigger. Sort of want to bump Xerxes dribbling a little bit. Not to that. To that. Cunha is also a 7. Yeah, I don't mind that. Ahmad, what, 6, 5, 5? Is that what we're thinking? Or are we being too kind to Ahmad, is my only question there. Is Ahmad's finishing only 1 level off Cunha? I don't think it is. I think it's further off than that. Realistic. Like, Ahmad doesn't have a goal output. He doesn't have it. How many goals has Ahmad got this season? Like 3 or something in the league. One was a header from half a foot out. One was a really good strike from a second phase of a set piece. Yeah, if Cunha was in the box more, getting higher value chances, he'd score a lot of goals. I agree. I almost want to go like that. With Dorgu, it's a little bit harsh. We've got to remember he isn't actually naturally a forwards. But we sort of haven't seen the sample size in the final third in shooting positions, so it's hard to go too high. Of course, he scored that worldie against Arsenal, which makes you want to really, really boost it. But is that fair, or have I been too harsh? We did see it last season with us, though, from Ahmad. Yeah, I'm really torn on Ahmad, whether he's a 5 or a 6. I'm really torn there. Really torn. Now, naturally, we're always going to be torn because we've all got different ideas of what we're thinking. I'm trying to give my thoughts, but also trying to read the chat and go with that as well. Yeah, Ahmad did score goals for us last season. You're not wrong. He did. I'm trying to think of the sort of level of goal that he was scoring last season, though. What were his goals? They're not jumping out at my head immediately. I can't think of them. Were they great finishes? Were they clinical finishes? In terms of finishing, Cunha can score a big variety of types of goals, whereas Mbeumo has a few finishes he does really consistently. Yeah, I like that. Again, I think Mbeumo a bit more machine-like, isn't he? Whereas Cunha's got, like you said, more unpredictability, a bit more of a maverick. Probably something more magical, out of nowhere. But, yeah, perhaps Mbeumo that more reliable, consistent finish. But when Cunha was playing instead of Sesko, he wasn't getting the chances. Yeah, that's a bit more to do with movement and type of striker you are. Again, there's so many things that it's much more complicated than just giving them a 1 to 10. This is just a rough way in which we can try and figure it out, basically. Cunha deserves an 8. Do you think he does? Do you think Cunha could go up 1? If you want Cunha up 1, I do not mind going Cunha up 1. The goal against Brighton was fantastic. I mean, Cunha's goal catalogue for us is better than Mbeumo's. I'll say that much. I'm at 5 feels low. Thoughts on that? Or am I just being, have I bottled it and been too generous right at the end? Also, just looking across, back across, I would consider Ahmad's ball carrying going lower. I don't think his ball carrying is as good as his dribbling. I don't think Ahmad's ball carrying over large distance is as good as what his dribbling is, so I would bring that down a little bit. Eight is like you got to give us 15 to 20 every year. Cunha did start slow. Yeah, but he did manage to do it last season for Wolves, which does sort of stay in my mind. Cunha 9 feels too high for me personally. How do we feel about that then? How do we feel about that? Yeah, Xerxes. I mean, Xerxes could come down to come down to a 4 if you wanted to. I don't hate it. No, his finishing's better than his off-ball running. We don't mind that, do we? We don't mind that. We're never going to agree. Like I said, I'm trying to give my opinion and my thoughts. but I'm also trying to take into consideration everything that you guys are saying. So I think I'm okay with that. Yeah, of course Xerxes is likely to leave. But if we just quickly take a look at this, is the squad totals on the screen for you? Can you guys see that? You can. Perfect. Beautiful. If you look at the squad totals real quick, at the bottom, so down here, there's obvious areas where we're struggling, right? There is obvious areas where the squad is weak. Creativity and dribbling is lacking in the attack. And I think when we watch Manchester United, you would agree. When you watch United play against a low block, do you see someone in the front three, remove Bruno, who dribbles at people, takes on fullbacks consistently and consistently beats them? No. Ahmad's the closest to it. Xerxes does it through the middle of the pitch. I will give him his flowers there. He does it in the middle of the pitch. But do we have someone who Doku-esque isolates a fullback and beats them? Not really. So I think it's right that that is low. Do we have someone who can create something sort of out of nothing in that front three reliably? No. So that sort of adds up. We need some creativity. We need a winger that can dribble. Speed perhaps isn't the main thing that we need. Ball retention maybe a little bit. If you were to look at actually our starting front three currently, it's quite low. You know, if we quickly just do this, then ball retention really drops. And again, now you think dribbling, ball retention, creativity, assuming we lose Xerxes. Then, you know, we look at that. That's what we need. We need those players. We need a winger who can dribble, who can create, but also can look after the ball. I think that's sort of what we need. We don't necessarily need that off-the-ball runner who's going to play on the shoulder all day. We've got those guys. We don't necessarily need brute speed, although I'm never against it on the wing. You probably want someone who's going to chip in with some goals, but naturally you want that from a forward anyway. And, you know, we can argue these numbers a little bit, whether players should be one higher, one lower, whatever. I think sort of the conclusion that we've come to, though, is pretty spot on. I think this sort of backs up what we watch. I think this backs up our eyes, to be honest. That's the type of player that we need. Now, that has gone on way longer than I wanted it to. But I'm going to make an exception today and quickly go through this with you guys as well. So it'll be a slightly longer stream. So grab your popcorn, enjoy. Let's do it now for the left side of the pitch, really. We're going to go through this much quicker. There's only 3 players. Slightly different criteria. But the reason why I want to do this is because we figured out the balance of the front line, but that's not the only thing that you have to consider with a left winger. I think so often when we think about building a left wing, finding a left winger, we think, okay, we need, for example, a creator, a runner, a goal scorer in our front line. And that's essentially what we've just done. We've identified what we need across the pitch that way. What I now quickly want to do is identify what we need this way. Because unfit left back, not a natural in either position, uncertain, not a natural left winger. We've got a problem down the left. So let's just quickly figure out what we need down the left-hand side. Now, this might come from a fullback in the future, or it might, again, sort of tie in with that left winger. So let's just do it very, very quick. Passing. I should say left flank, not left wing. I do apologise. Steve, you absolutely messed everything up. I can't believe it. I get. Right, what did we have Cunha's creativity? I'll quickly do that while you guys are thinking. Cunha's creativity was a 6. His dribbling was a 6. His speed was 6. His ball carrying was a 9. We didn't do passing or width retention. I know, right? Steve, I can't believe it. Can't believe it. You think you can rely on someone? And he doesn't write the word flank. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, what do we reckon here? Oh, I can do some of the Dorgu stuff as well, can't I? Dorgu. Creativity, 4. Eesh. I mean, immediately the left side is not screaming creativity for us. Dribbling, Dorgu. Where is it? 4. Ball carrying, Dorgu, 6. Bit better. And what's the other one? Speed. 7. That could still change. That one could still be bumped 1. Passing, Shaw 7, Dorgu 5, Cunha 6. I don't mind that. I think prime peak Luke Shaw is an incredible passer. As far as fullbacks go, I would have him in his peak as one of the best passers in the world as a fullback. Trent always in a category of his own. Shaw was that one below. Is how I always felt. With building up from deep, I think Shaw's very good at it. I'd actually maybe go 8 for Shaw. I'd maybe go 8 just for his passing. But has it declined that much that it comes down lower to a 7 or something? Of course, for a left back is different to what it is for a left winger. Passing, we're thinking about short passing, passing under pressure, long passing. Can you play up the line, but also inside? I said peak Shaw. Trent was the only one really passing who was clear of Shaw, I always felt. That clip ball that he could play down the line for Rashford or over the top for an on-running forward, I thought was brilliant. He could always pass inside the pitch. But it's gone now, isn't it? So I don't know where you'd have him. What's happened to Harry Amas? Yeah, just a couple of loans which haven't quite really worked out for him. Plus he's had some injury problems which have disrupted him. So, yeah, it's just been stalled a little bit. Shaw looked great before Licha showed us what passing is. Yeah, that's a fair comment. Do we think Shaw? Obviously, these ratings are going to be a bit more skewed because we're not just looking at forwards here. We're looking across different positions. Thoughts if I was to do that? How would we feel there? How would we feel with that passing? I'd be tempted to go one higher on Dorgu's ball carrying. But he does play for free kicks a bit too much. I don't think he's quite aggressive enough. Shaw doesn't even go past the halfway line anymore. Yeah. I think Shaw, technique-wise, if you're talking about technique of a pass, Shaw is still up there for us. I do think he is. Ball carrying, 5, maybe. Again, peak Shaw used to fly with the ball. Absolutely fly with it. But not anymore. Not anymore. Of course, today we're not talking about defensive stuff. That is something that does need to be considered with squad building. Can we defend down that side of the pitch? How much height we got? How much physicality? It's just not the conversation for today, though, because if not, we'd be streaming for the next 8 hours. So, yeah. I mean, I don't think this is going to look very pretty for us, I'll be real with you. I don't think it's going to look great. Is ball carrying 5 okay, or is that too high? Speed. Again, I'd say these days he's slower, right? Not 55. Are we talking progressive passing or just accuracy? In an ideal world, both. Can they sort of measure that decision of when to keep the ball? But then when we do need to express ourselves a bit more, how regularly can they find that forward pass? Again, it is very different for Shaw than it is for Cunha because they're playing such different positions. We're just trying to get a quick idea, really. Speed is 4. Used to be great. I mean, it's hard to argue with it. It's hard to... He just doesn't have the engine for it, does he? Dribbling. Dribbling's a weird one. Dribbling is a weird one. By the way, just looking at this, I'm a big Luke Shaw fan. Again, in his prime, I think if Shaw never had injury problems, he would be one of the best fullbacks in history. I truly believe that. Especially on the ball. But at the moment, we're sort of ending up here where Shaw doesn't really offer us much apart from we go, he's left-footed. Doing this for midfield and defence would be great in the fixture gap, would help identifying our midfield and centre-back targets. I am more than happy to do that. We've done a lot of these in the past. Sort of as we get towards the end of the season and build towards the summer, I like to do them more. But yeah, obviously we've got a different squad to this time last year. And because we do have these extended breaks, yeah, maybe we will. Maybe we will. Yeah, dribbling. What, 4 again, to be honest? Shaw's not really a dribbler. He's not really a dribbler. Width retention. Purely what I mean by this, I didn't know how to word it. I did not know how to word it at all. Width retention, I mean pretty exclusively opposition half now. Ability to play out here. Ability / wanting to. Do they do it? Do they do it? We've seen in recent weeks, not really. They all have a tendency to come inside. Yeah, if we were doing this ranking with Shaw, defensively, it'd be very different. Be very, very different. Shaw would rate so much better than both Dorgu and Cunha. But currently, not so much. Not on the ball. Not on the ball. Which is a shame, for sure. I think it's a shame. I think the speed 4 might be slightly harsh. I will say that much. I think the speed is slightly harsh. I think he can still move. He can still move. Shaw gets a nosebleed in the final third. Yeah, this is where there's going to be sort of a lack of consistency, because I think creativity, Shaw's really good, but he just never gets there to do it. Like, this stuff means that he doesn't get to do this stuff. I think creatively he's good, but he doesn't get there enough. So width retention, Cunha doesn't do it, does he? Cunha comes inside a lot. We did see the other day he started to do it a bit more, but not enough. I'm thinking... Not 66. I'm thinking that. Dorgu's the only one who can do it. Cunha doesn't want to, and Shaw can't do it anymore. Yeah, I think Shaw can at least do it in the middle third. Sort of that controlled possession moment before you get into the attack. I think he can do it there at least. I think he can do it there. And I think if I was to go creativity, I'd go probably a 5, I think. But people might disagree with that simply because Shaw hasn't got the numbers, but he doesn't ever get there. When he is there, if you can put Shaw there, he can create. We just don't see him put there. But he can create. The other stuff is the problem, I think, is what I'm trying to say. I don't even know anymore. Dorgu maybe a 7. I just think Shaw... sorry, Dorgu wants to come inside where he can on the width front. I think he wants to... Whenever you see Dorgu take the ball, he can sort of start wide, absolutely. He's more than happy to do that. But particularly when we're over here, not so much in the final third, but particularly when we're over here, the amount of times Dorgu will take his touch and he wants to come inside like that, he almost needs someone to then bomb round on the overlap. He's not the one to do it himself. I think I should have included one for crossing. Crossing can go into creativity, and that's again where Shaw sort of benefits. So we'll put that in creativity, crossing. And again, Dorgu's just not a very good crosser. Shaw is quite a good one. Now again, we can disagree on the exact numbers all day long. We can do that all day. But in terms of what we're lacking, if we look down the left-hand side, quite a lot, to be honest. The left side balance isn't there at the moment. And again, that sort of backs what we watch. I think we all sit there and say, this balance isn't working for us. So it does add up, to tell the truth. It makes sense. We need creativity from the left side. We absolutely need creativity. You need someone who can make something happen. We've seen for weeks now that we haven't been able to do it. We need players that can play wider on the left. At least one. At least one player signed for the left side, whether that's wing or fullback, that can really hold the width. Dribbling. We need dribbling. Speed, we don't look miles off it, but could do with a little bit more. Ball carrying, we're okay. Honestly, everything but ball carrying we could do with. Now, the great thing is this will probably be done with 2 signings, probably a left back and a left winger. So we don't have to find one profile to do all of this. But I think it shows that the left side of the pitch just doesn't work for us at the moment. In our current system, with that left back, left wing dynamic, as we've all seen for weeks now, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Our left side isn't functioning at the moment. So I was expecting these ratings to be low, and low they are. So yeah, that tells you a lot, really. Manchester United need a left back and a left winger that can add up some of these numbers, that between them can hold the width, can bring passing, can bring dribbling, have speed between them, have that creativity. There's a lot that we need down the left-hand side, which is why I think this points to it being 2 signings, not just one. Not just one. It might be 2 left wingers. It might be a left wing and a left back. I don't know how you want to do it, but we need 2 players down the left side of the pitch. This pretty much confirms it for me. Unless we see Dorgu come back before the end of the season, play left back, for example, and his passing is much better than what we thought, or his dribbling from that position is better than what we thought. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment. I think we have pretty well identified what we need at this football club. We know what we need. So what we will do in the future, I don't know when it will be. It might be... I'll just leave that there because we're in third. I quite like it and Spurs are struggling. In the future, we will do a stream and a video at some point looking at some different players. So we will bring in some names. So maybe do some watching. I might give you guys sort of a heads up of who we're going to be looking at. So for example, in 3 weeks, we might do a stream looking at Barcola, looking at Diamande and Jai, these guys, for example, and we'll do the same rating for them and see if they tick any of the boxes that we need. That's pretty much where we're at. Because we don't just need a left winger, we need the right one. We need the right one. We've broken our squad. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. With the squad management over the years, the squad building over the years, yeah, we have sort of broke it. We've broken it down today, which I've very much enjoyed doing, but that is the last thing that we are doing for today. I think we've covered everything that I wanted to discuss. And like I said, I think it's been a really good conversation, actually. I've quite enjoyed this. Sort of getting your guys' opinion a bit more on how you rate some of these players, how you value them, what you think they're good at, what you think they're bad at. There's clearly some things that are good in here, particularly on this front. You know, there's some speed in the attack. We've got the ability to score goals. Our runs off the ball are great in the attack. But we do need some creativity. We do need some dribbling, some ball retention. And then down the left side, well, we seriously need some width. We need some creativity and maybe some speed as well. So, yeah. And again, this might be left backs as well as left wingers. This can be 2 players. This can be 2 players. We can sign 2 forwards this summer if we want to. So, yeah, there's plenty of options. We don't need one player to tick all of the boxes. So, yeah, I think that is everything for today. So we are going to wrap the stream up there. By the way, he is definitely one that we will be looking at some point. Yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. In terms of videos, there should be one out tonight, providing we don't have any technical difficulties. Then no video tomorrow, because Saturday tends to be the night off. Sunday, we should have a video, and then next week we'll sort of take it one day at a time, see what's happening in the football world. For now, though, yes, we are finished. Thank you guys very much for getting involved in this. I hope you have enjoyed doing something a little bit different, very numbers-based, but yeah, hopefully you've got something from it. And I will see you all very, very soon for more videos and also more streams. Keep safe over the break.